Hey everyone, I am back from my vacation. Last week we dealt with Lumity moments and major Amity character development. This week we got King backstory. Yeah, King. He's my favorite character because he's so adorable. Spoilers. I forgot to say spoilers in the past couple videos, and I couldn't even put the word spoilers up in the last video. But spoilers. You might hear the sounds of laundry going on in the background. Just fair warning. It starts with a flashback to when Ida met King, but there's not a lot going on, and you see a more complete flashback later. But initially you see Ida going to this island to hide from the boiling rain, and this mysterious figure is watching her and approaches her, and she's shocked, and then cut to the intro. Alright, you see Luz's journal, and she's tinkering with different glyph stuff, because in the last episode they mentioned that by combining different glyphs they could theoretically do all magic, and Luz figures out an invisibility glyph, which, obviously will become important later in the episode. It's Chekhov's gun, King is trying to command his army, with all the plushies, and no one's taking him seriously. Lilith comments that there's no record of there ever being a king of demons. King says he was once powerful, but a spell was used on him and transformed him into this little, small, cute form. And his real crown is out there somewhere, but he doesn't really remember because his memories are fuzzy. Lilith and Hootie, because, Lilith and Hootie are best friends. They continue being best friends in this episode. They're, complimenting each other, but Lilith and Hootie don't really playing along with King's stories, but Luz is we don't want to hurt his feelings, let's just go along with them. King leaves the room, then comes back with Ida and Lilith's staves, and is I'll take you to my castle. And it's right now? It's yeah, let's just go. And it's okay. Hootie asks if he can come too. He separates himself from the door, and you don't see what happens, but they're the really gross noises, and you see the flesh that's beating in the door, and Luz dry heaves a little bit, so the TV trope gory discretion shot. Ida, she wakes up, she sees that she's home alone. She's this is interesting. She finds a note from King that was took everyone to my castle, see you later. And Ida's oh no. And then she goes and chases after them with this tub with a propeller attached to it that could fly. And I'm where did that come from? Did Ida make that? Did she scavenge it? Did someone on Earth make that? And Albert stole it because it's hey, this is cool trash. I want to know more about this flying tub. Luz and Lilith and King and Hootie, they land on that island, and Lilith is really interested because it's oh, this island doesn't appear on any maps, and there's writing there that's not in any known language, and there's a symbol, no one knows what it means, and it's maybe King is telling the truth. I'm guessing that this is some Savage Age thing that Bellis has suppressed the history of, so Lilith, someone who's been loyal to the Coven for a long portion of her life, doesn't know anything about it. I mean, that seems the most likely explanation. There are these rocks that are blocking the way into this tower, but King manages to just push them out of the way. Oh, I think I managed to push King out of the way there, I'm sorry. But you see these stacks of rocks, which I definitely said looked like donuts in the trailer. They don't really look like donuts, it's just they're brown, and they have there's greenish moss on top of them, and it kind of looks like brown donuts with green frosting, and I'm rambling. But yeah, these stacks, they aren't really explained, but you see them all over, and they're round rocks, but at the top there's this curved horn thing. Luz goes walking around, she finds a bunch of corpses of these demons with those curved heads, but one of them's still alive and starts chasing after her. Luz is we have to go right now. Ida shows up, she distracts the demon monster with some exploding potions. She's we need to leave. It can't leave the tower, so if we get out, we'll be safe. They realize that the thing was protecting against intruders, and King's why would it consider me an intruder? And he finds out that no one really takes him seriously. Even Luz, who's always been so enthusiastic about his stories, is kind of thought they weren't true. Ida tells the full story of how she met King. It was 8 years ago, and she was hiding from the Emperor's Coven in the boiling rain, and the island appeared, which, I mean, I guess it goes with Lilith's statement that it wasn't on any maps. I guess it just appears and disappears, which is interesting. She found baby King, And oh my god, Baby King is so cute. He's like little small, and that monster demon comes, and Ida's like, oh man, we gotta go. And she grabs King. The demon, it takes this like a spear or something, and it throws it at them while they're fleeing, and it knocks off Baby King's horn. Then you cut to later, and you see that Ida has taken King to the outhouse with her, and King is like stacking toys like those rocks were stacked, so maybe it was like some instinctual thing for him. And Ida, kind of jokingly says, oh, it's like it's your king and they're your subjects. And like you see King, he's like, yeah, king. And it's like, oh, he thinks he's a king of demons because Ida kind of like accidentally gave him that idea. It's like, oh. Ida still has his horn, like she stores it in her hair, and she's like, you can have it back. And King touches it, and he starts to have a panic attack. It's like, oh, his memories will come back if he gets the horn, so he runs away. Luz goes and finds him. Luz is like, even if, your story of being the mighty king of demons isn't true, not everything adds up. You mentioned that you remembered falling from this great height and you heard some roar, where it's like, maybe there's more information if we climb to the top of the tower. So they head back in. Lilith and Hootie attack. Like, Hootie swallowed a bunch of those exploding potions, and Lilith is like firing them like a bazooka. It's really cool. Meanwhile, Luz and Ida and King sneak by using that invisibility glyph, which told you it would become important. No, because I've watched enough TV shows to know when something like that is casually introduced at the beginning of an episode, it's going to be important. Like in the Grom episode, where Luz is just like, oh hey, I just discovered the plant glyph. I wonder if that'll be used later in the episode. Let's see. They make it to the top, they see there's nothing there, but King, he like touches this door and like opens it without even like really thinking about it. He was backing away towards the door because the demon thing went up and climbed up to follow them. They hide in this room that King opened the door to, and you see it has more of these stacks, and there's this cracked thing in the middle of the room, and King's like, I think this is where I'm from. Wait, hold on. And he grabs the horn and puts it back on. So, he's got two horns, but like, one of them is like, the one that got cut off is like a different color, so maybe got like faded, or I don't know. You see it flashback to like King in an egg. That's what that cracked thing was. It was King's shell, which that's interesting to think about. And King remembers this big roar and this what sounds like sounds of attack, but King couldn't do anything because he was in an egg. And eventually he hatched and he woke up and he was like alone, but that demon thing with like the curved head came and took care of him and took him down from the top, and that's why he remembers falling. And it's like, oh, King might not be the king of demons, but he is important here. That monster thing was protecting King from Luz and Ida and everything. That's why he was attacking them. King isn't really sure how he knows this, but he knows that the roar he heard was someone calling him his son. So it's like, was that King's dad? That's what they're speculating. And so is he really the prince of demons? If he's Cubone, was that Marowak? Is his dad Bill Cipher? Who knows? I mean, no, but I had to say it. Hey, this is just a little thing I realized while editing. Gravity Falls takes place in 2012. Owl House most likely takes place in 2020. Ida said she found King 8 years ago. King was born 8 years ago. King is Bill Cipher's reincarnation confirmed? I mean, no, it's not confirmed, but had to at least get that thought out. King is like, we should take this thing home with us, but it like stops being alive once they leave. So King just like puts it in the corner of Luz's room, or King's room. King sleeps by Luz's bed, so I'm assuming it's the same room. He named it John Luke, which I'm just like, nice Star Trek reference. Nice. King, he carves that symbol that Lilith found into his necklace, and King thinks it might be his real name. It ends with Ida and Lilith inspecting some photos that Lilith took, and they're both kind of stumped onto what happened. And Luz is like, we'll figure this out. We'll find out where King came from. We'll find his dad. We'll go to find Marowak. Well, that's what I'm calling him, at least. Alright, that's it for this episode. It was really good backstory, really interesting. Time to talk about the acronym again. A few days ago, we got the announcement for Eclipse Lake and Yesterday's Lie. which confirms the first half as Seek the Key, which a lot of people were saying seek the key to the portal, which made sense since Bells had the key in the trailer. So that's presumably one of the things the acronym's referring to, because the season 1 acronym was referring to more than one thing, so presumably this one is as well. Is King's backstory the key to something? It might be, since this... Like, we found out a lot about stuff, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions, so clearly this is going to be picked up on again later in the season. And those episode descriptions for Eclipse Lake and Yesterday's Lie, whew, I don't feel safe. But just this morning, I found out the episode titles for episodes 11, 12, and 13 were found, and I'm not sure if these are official, but they're FEA, so we're at Seek the Key Fee. Now, I could be completely wrong with this, but doesn't it seem like it should rhyme, like Seek the Key, something E? Because doesn't that flow well? Like, Seek the Key to E. I could be wrong, but going on my hunch that the Season 2 acronym will rhyme, it could be something like Seek the Key, Fear the Knee. The knee is something on the show. I mean, maybe. Seek the Key, Fear. It's free. It doesn't have to be fear. It could be Seek the Key, Feast the Tea. I mean, it's almost certainly not that. Just based on this type of show, I feel like the next word after key is probably fear, but I could be wrong. But that's pretty much it for now. I'll see you next week. Until then, thanks for watching.